Hi YouTube, I'm Peggy Lu Who, and this is Peggy Lu Who Reads, or Peggy Lu Who Reads. Thank you for checking out this video, coming back to my channel. This is going to be my July TBRs. I mentioned in my June wrap-up where I gave the review of all the books that I finished in June that life has been challenging lately. I've just been really stressed out. Some stressful stuff happened and whatnot, and it really got to me. It made it so that I just wanted to sit around and be a potato. So I haven't been reading as much, and I haven't really been feeling like keeping up with making videos and whatnot. So I have decided to fake it until I make it and keep making videos, even though I'm not feeling super into it right now. So sorry if I don't have the same amount of energy that I normally would, and also if I'm not as funny, if I don't make as many mistakes that are amusing or sing stupid songs, etc. that end up in a blooper reel. Many apologies, but thanks for coming back again. If you're one of my subscribers, I really want to give a special shout out and thank you to you, all of you, including my mom. Hola mama. And so this is a much shorter list of stuff that I am planning to read in July because I'm trying to go easy on myself. Also, one of these is a little bit of a challenge. So let's dive right in. Doing this a little bit backwards from how I normally do it if you've watched a few of these. Normally I have a list of books and then at the end I'm like, and then I have this stretch goal. And the stretch goal is a book that is on my favorite books shelf because in 2021 I've decided that I would like to reread all of my favorite books. This month I'm going to start off with the book from my favorite shelf, which is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The reason why I'm picking this and the reason why it is at the top of the list and is not at the bottom as a stretch goal is because many booktubers are doing Jane Austen July. If you don't know, Jane Austen passed away in July of 1817. Fun historical fact. So the other YouTubers are doing a set of prompts where they're reading one of Austen's 6 finished novels, some of her other writings, some other adjacent writings, biographies, and also some contemporaries. I'm not going to do that whole thing, but I am going to read Pride and Prejudice again, and I'm looking forward to it. I have this awesome annotated version where it gives you on the right hand side or on the left hand side the text of Pride and Prejudice, and on the other adjacent side it has the notations right alongside, so you don't have to flip back to endnotes, etc. Some of the notes are very helpful and enlightening about the period of time and explain why certain characters would have been acting in a certain way, which is difficult sometimes to know if you're not really familiar with the Regency era. Jane Austen's novels are set in the Regency era in England. So it sort of gives you some tips and tricks and information about why things are being done the way that they are. Sometimes there's some language that is not used the same way today as it was then, and it'll describe that. Some of it's just really goofy, silly little trivial facts that I still enjoy. So yeah, I really love this copy. I'm going to reread it. I also recently got the same publisher did an edition of Sense and Sensibility, and I picked that up, so I'll read that later. Not sure what just fell out of my book, but hey. Yeah, so first up, Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. If you've been living under a rock, basically this follows the Bennet sisters. There are 5 of them. They're all of a marriageable age, and they're all sort of trying to sort out their domestic situations for the rest of their lives because it's the Regency era and it's important for young women to get married and to marry well, especially because they're father's estate cannot pass on to any female member of the family when he goes, so they need to basically lock down marriage proposals before daddy passes away. The main character, Elizabeth Bennet, is the second of the Bennet sisters, basically follows her trials, tribulations, and trying to get on in society and find herself some sort of arrangement that she'll be happy with for the rest of her life. And follows kind of, do you marry for love or do you marry for financial security? And also follows some like sort of misunderstandings and foibles. Jane Austen is actually kind of comedic in a very subtle sort of way. It's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people think it's boring. I would say that that's mostly just them reacting to the restrictions on the life of this class of young women at the time. But since this is one of my favorites that I'm rereading, I will probably do a standalone review of this book after I reread it. So I don't want to go too deep into it. But yeah, that is the gist of it. The Bennet sisters, Elizabeth Bennet. Looking forward to it. Next up, I have a book from Book of the Month Club. Still not sponsored by Book of the Month, but I do still have my link in the description. If you have been thinking about trying out Book of the Month, I do recommend it, even though they're not paying me to recommend it. And you can use my referral link, and that will get you your first month for $9.99, and I will get a credit that I can use, and I would appreciate that. So basically the way it works is Book of the Month is normally $14.99 a month. You get to choose between about usually 5 different novels. And also, if you want, you can choose up to 2 add-ons for just $10 extra. So this book was actually one of my add-ons, and so this is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is sort of like a historical fantasy novel. It tells the story of a young woman who is an apothecary in the late 1700s. She actually is helping to craft special poisons that she gives to women who need to get out of situations with the men in their lives. So it follows her, and then also jumps forward in history 200 years to the present day, and follows a aspiring historian who has come across a mysterious vial and begins researching. I think basically she's going to find the story of the apothecary, but we shall see. Short one, so good for me also because that Pride and Prejudice is not all that short, although half of it's annotation, and also because I still have 3 books left over from June, and because, well, focusing is hard. Attention spans are short. Life is weird. And then finally, I picked up a book. Someone had made a comment. Actually, I think like someone made a comment, and I think it got somehow removed from YouTube because I went back to look for it and couldn't find it again. But Ted, if you're out there, I picked up In Defense of Ska by Aaron Carnes. I think it's Carnes, Carnes. So shockingly, this is a person from the Bay Area who's in the ska scene, and I don't know them. If you don't know me personally, you probably don't realize that I am a fan of ska music and have been for many years, and many of my friends, some of whom are such good friends that I consider them family, are in ska bands or were in ska bands at some point in time. So Ted suggested I read this book. I thought that sounded like a good idea. I am looking forward to it. So this is described as a mix of interviews, essays, personal stories, historical snapshots, obscure anecdotes, and think pieces. So I know for a fact that at least some of my friends will be mentioned in this book, if not quoted. I will say that in flipping through it, I haven't started reading it yet, but in flipping through it, one of the things that I am somewhat skeptical about is that there isn't an index, because obviously knowing that some of my friends are probably mentioned in it, I wanted to go through and figure out which ones were, but there's no index. That's annoying. And then the other thing that I found interesting is if this is a history, there's no annotation in this. There's no footnotes. There's no endnotes. There's supposed to be interviews. There's nowhere that I've seen so far, just flipping through it, where it gives the details of the various interviews. There is sort of a bibliography, but it doesn't really, it doesn't really say in the text like where each of these might have been the source material for certain bits. So it's kind of, I don't know. We'll see how it turns out, but yeah, at the very least, it'll probably be good for some nostalgia for my 20s. So yeah, in Defense of Ska. And of course I'm still reading these bad boys that are left over from previous months, and so hopefully not overloading myself will also help me to catch up with some of my previous TBRs. And hopefully I will get to 30 books by the end of July. I know that this has not been as much fun of a video. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for my downer mood, but I'm trying to get through it. I really appreciate you, and please let me know if you have any comments or questions, suggestions, if you want to talk to me about my wardrobe, since my mom already trashed my makeup, and she's probably going to be upset with me now because she didn't really trash it. She just gave me some constructive feedback that was actionable and very helpful. But yeah, she trashed my makeup. Like this, share this on your socials. You can follow me on my socials. I am on Instagram and on Twitters, and you can find me across the web at Peggy Lu. And subscribe. Are you subscribing yet? Because I really would love it if you would subscribe. Yeah, thank you so much, and until next time, read well.